My guest on this segment is Leeza Steindorf, and she is a corporate trainer and a transformational specialist. And today we're going to be discussing the shifting of humanity, and we're going to be doing it in 12 minutes and under. Ready, set, go.
Go. No small task. Hi, Allison.
Hi. I'm so glad you're here. We're going to have a great time. But first, I think our audience might want to know a little bit about you. What do you do? What do you love to do?
Okay. Well, I work with organizations, with individuals, with families, and I help people take situations that either they're enjoying and they want to transform them into something else, or situations, I do crisis intervention also, that are challenging, difficult, and help them turn things around in such a way that they're better than they were beforehand. And I do that with training, coaching, speaking, a variety of different ways.
I love that, and
it's wonderful.
There's so much need out there.
Absolutely.
Well, and I think with our topic today about the shifting of humanity, this ability to be able to talk with people and have positive ideas and have an open point of view is really necessary to continue a conversation.
Yep.
And I know that that is a great topic that you love to talk about.
Absolutely, and the connection, the similarity in Toastmasters, there's really no judgment. The wonderful thing is you can stand there, you will share things and you think, oh, that really didn't work well, but people will tell you what did work well and what you could improve upon. So there's no judgment, and that's a wonderful experience to have, and that's the work that I do, and that's what I see happening in our culture around the world, really, is that if we look at the Me Too movement, what's happening where so many things are coming out where women have been harassed, or even men have been harassed, and they don't haven't had the opportunity to have a voice in that either. And one thing I say in that is, we don't need to fight for equality, we are equal. What we do need to work for is equal treatment. And to know that we are equal, that comes from the place of validity and knowing our value, and that there's nobody that's better or worse, there is no hierarchy of human beings.
So you talked about your work throughout the world, because you've been able to work throughout the world and in many different cultures.
Yes.
And recently you had an opportunity to be a part of the Cree Nation ceremony. Could you tell us some about that, and in regards to the shifting of humanity?
Yes, it was really fascinating, actually. So I was invited through Dr. Bruce Lipton and Wayne Miller to visit the Cree Nation's Sundance ceremony outside of Calgary. And I had the opportunity there to participate in some ceremonies and events that really were transformational in so many different ways it's hard to express, and certainly not in 11 minutes. But in one of the conversations with the chief, Standing White Buffalo, he said that there is no equality, there is no better or worse, that he sees humanity as a community just like a spider web, and each one of those strings is necessary for that whole structure to work. You can't pluck one out and say this one is better or more important. They all are necessary for the whole to function. And so each one of us has a role to play. Different genders have a role to play, different ages, different cultures, nationalities, and so to look at it from a holistic point of view is what we need, and it's happening, and all the disruptions that's happening right now, and it feels like things are so chaotic. That's necessary in order for us to come from an isolated culture where there are silos into a global culture of integration and wholeness.
So how do we make that shift when we're looking, particularly from our American point of view, where we see cultures who have women who are only allowed, in our point of view, to wear skirts, and we feel like that's really unequal. Is that is that just for an American point of view, or is that how everybody perceives it?
Well, one of my hobby horses is non-judgment. I have actually, it's a free training on my website, The Genius of Non-Judgment. And what I think is really important is to know that all of our perspectives are valid.
Yes.
Perspectives cannot be right or wrong. They simply are valid because they come from our history, our experience. And when we have a judgment about something, and I'm not talking about being prudent or making a decision that is good for us, but judgment making somebody wrong or bad, judgment comes from a lack of information. So if you look at, for example, with women wearing skirts, I experienced this actually at the Cree Nation. We were asked during the ceremonies to wear skirts, and there were a lot of women from the West that had been invited into their ceremonies, and they had difficulties with that. And so it became, they had a women's circle, and we had a conversation, and the explanation was really beautiful. And what they said was that we as women are the givers of life. And our bodies are temples for holding life. And so the skirt that comes down, and they asked us to wear skirts that really came down to the ankle, cover us and protect us. It creates a circle, a sphere of safety and connection to Mother Earth. And they also explained to us that a teepee always goes all the way down to the ground. People do not go underneath the sides of the teepee for the exact same reasons. It keeps the connection of everyone in that teepee to the ground, to Mother Earth, and then you would enter through the door. So the idea that, you know, oh, women are being hindered in a certain way isn't true. Now, if there are human rights in question, as is in many cultures, those are things that definitely need to be addressed. But as far as dress codes and mores, really one needs to look back into the history of where that comes from, and then, of course, to stand up for the values that we believe in so that nobody is treated less than anybody else.
What I love about what you're talking about is, again, you were talking about going back into history to find out the true intent.
Yes.
I think so often we come from, this is our point of view from today's modern day, and so therefore if there's somebody has to wear a skirt, then that they don't understand that there's an intent behind it, and it's okay to honor that intent. And these women who are during that ceremony wearing a skirt, can they also not wear a skirt outside of the ceremony?
Absolutely. So, it's intended for that purpose.
Right.
Exactly. And you know, you're speaking about going back in history. We are missing in cultures that are not Aboriginal, that are not Native, we are missing the continuity throughout generations. And one of the celebrations that we had during one of the rituals that we had during the Sundance ceremony was the children's blessing. And people came with things that they wanted to have healed or to be blessed by, and the children, very small, 2 or 3 years old, that could hold an eagle's wing, and that's how they did the blessing. And the people would kneel down, from children all the way through to the elderly would kneel down, and these small children would come and bless them and tap them. And the children took it very seriously and with joy, and the people that were blessed took it seriously. So the beauty of that is the children were able to honor themselves by knowing they had something to give, and the people that were kneeling were being blessed by these small people. So the respect and honor of all the ages was right there. And can you imagine growing up that way, Allison?
Oh, that sounds exciting.
Right.
I had the opportunity to homeschool 2 of my 3 children.
Beautiful.
And that is all ages. So we got to have a little taste of what that could be like, having all ages in a classroom, so to speak.
And each teaching the other and learning from one another.
Absolutely. And it was great because you were talking about silos. It broke down some of those silos because third graders who could just do 6th grade work could do that. And it wasn't a big deal.
Yep.
So as we were talking, you're a transformational coach, and for corporate as well as families, what are a couple of tools or things that from your work that we can take as we are moving into the shift in humanity?
One thing is,
about 30 seconds.
Is to become aware of where you're at, what you want, and the best way to get there with an open heart and a clear mind. And that sounds very simple, but that awareness, and then the direction we want to go into, and the heart and the mind with which we do that.
Can you give us a really quick example of what that might look like?
So if you're having an argument with somebody and you disagree with what they're saying, instead of coming combatively into that, go to a place of curiosity. If you want to have resolution, which would be the awareness, we have a disagreement, you go to the place of what it is you want, which is to have resolution. So how can I best get there? And that would be to go to curiosity, trying to understand the other person. What is it that they really are wanting to say? And also honoring yourself that what you want to share is equally important. And enter into the conversation that way instead of in a combative way.
I love that. And I think a ton of people would benefit from your point of view and your delivery.
Thank you.
And if people were interested in contacting you, how could they contact you?
So I have a website. It's www.Leeza Steindorf, and it's Leeza. Steindorf, Steindorf.com. And information's on there. You can book a free consultation. As I said, the Genius of Non-Judgment is a free training, which is a wonderful thing, very, very useful. And people can contact me.
Well, I can't wait to see that one. I looked at your website and it's on my list of things to click.